Welcome, my name's Jeremiah. Have you ever wondered about Jesus' life when he was a boy? What happened to Jesus between his birth and when he became a traveling teacher? I've wondered about that. The Bible only has one story to tell you about that, and so I'm going to tell you that story today. But I need for you to listen with your ears as we tell this story about Jesus when he was 12 years old. Spring is a very busy time in Nazareth. The spring rains are about to come to a close, and the bright green color of the winter wheat and barley are beginning to turn the golden yellow, nearing harvest. The fig trees are blossoming, and so are the grapevines. Can you smell those blossoms with me? Well, spring is also when we travel to Jerusalem for Passover. Passover is when we remember the story of Moses being asked by God to lead the people out of captivity, out of slavery, out of Egypt. And so Jesus and his family traveled to Jerusalem every year for Passover. And they traveled by foot. And so it was a long journey. It was 4 or 5 days journey on foot to get to Jerusalem. It was a long trip, but it was great fun for the boys and girls. They traveled and hiked together, and they got to camp together. And then when we got to Jerusalem, there were families from other villages and towns and cities who also traveled to Jerusalem for Passover. And there were great markets there in Jerusalem. Merchants from all over the world had come. Oh, Jerusalem is a magnificent city, and the beautiful temple is there. Now, this was a very special year for Jesus to travel to Nazareth because he was 12 years old. In the eyes of the law, Jesus was no longer a boy. Jesus was now a man. Well, time came for Jesus and his family to travel back to Nazareth. Now, on the first day camp, a great commotion arose from the family of Jesus. Jesus was nowhere to be found. He had not traveled with his mother. He had not traveled with his father. He was not with the other children. He was not with the other neighbors. What could have happened to Jesus? And of course, Jesus' family was very worried. I'm sure your family would be very if they couldn't find you. If you were ever lost. Well, the next morning at daybreak, Mary and Joseph traveled back to Jerusalem. And they went to every place they had been. They went to the place where they had last slept. They went to the market. And then they came to the temple. And there they found Jesus. Jesus was sitting among the teachers. But Jesus wasn't listening to the teachers. The teachers were listening to Jesus. Mary had been very worried about Jesus. But Jesus said, I am about my Father's business. Now, why do you think Jesus went to the temple? Now, the temple is the place where we honor God. It's where we learn about God and where we remember all the blessings that God has given us. Well, then they traveled back to Nazareth. I've often wondered what Jesus and his family talked about on that long trip home. Well, the Bible only tells us a little bit more about what happened to Jesus when he got back to Nazareth. The Bible tells us that Jesus increased in wisdom. I'm sure that he learned his lessons well. And Jesus increased in stature. He grew to be a man. And Jesus increased in favor with God and all his family and friends and neighbors in Nazareth. Well, the next time the Bible tells us about Jesus, he is now a traveling teacher, and he has great crowds of people following him. But that's a story for another time. Goodbye. See you again soon.